Hey guys, this is the second installment of my newly renamed series, Devlog Predictions, where I try to predict content teased in the Mech Arena devlogs. This time I'll be discussing Devlog 13, which mentions 2 new mechs, 3 new weapons, some free-for-all maps that no one cares about that I'm not going to be talking about, and some tweaks to the new Onslaught mode, and a new rendition of the Onslaught mode featuring Gatecrasher. So first, the mechs. The first mech teased was a legendary support mech codenamed Angel. This is going to be a healer mech, and they stated that its ability will fire a projectile that heals your teammates instantly. They also said that the mech would be capable of healing itself, which I assume will also be done by the ability, and not by something else. Also, the design of this mech looks really cool. I like the color of the lights. The green really reminds me of the old Autodoc skin for MD, which became the new design with the redesign update. Also, the legs are really unique shape. They kind of remind me of those prosthetic legs that like Paralympic athletes will use to run. The thing on its shoulder looks like it would be the projectile that it fires for its ability. It kind of looks like some combination of like Wheatley from Portal and the projectile that the Rescue Ranger from TF2 fires. Anyway, enough about what we actually know. My speculation on how the ability is going to work, I think it's going to instantaneously heal a flat rate plus a percentage of your ally mech's HP. Either that, or it's just going to heal the flat rate. There will almost definitely be an implant for how much it heals. Almost definitely going to be an implant for how far away it can heal from. And the actual ability, I think, will be somewhat like Hemlock's ability. I thought at first that it might be like Solus's ability, where it would have a radius and multiple charges, which I would have really liked, but it looks like just one projectile, and I don't really have any reason to believe that there would be a radius to its healing. That'd be really cool, and I hope it happens, but I don't think it will. The next mech that they teased was a legendary attacker mech codenamed Swarm. They said that its ability would fire multiple rockets and create an AoE damage zone in front of it, which could be one of two things. The boring option, where it's basically a Stormrack salvo, and the cool option, where it's a barrage of disruptor projectiles. Now, this mech could either be very important or very unimportant. Either it's just a better Onyx with a Stormrack or a couple really weak disruptors on its shoulder, and it's just a 32 energy mech with so-so HP, so-so speed, and just be overgeneralized and not super impactful, or it could be incredibly important and be the same exact way but have 40 energy. Now, a lot of people have been theorizing that this is why Tier 9 was created. Ruffles, for example, said this exact thing on a stream, basically. I think it was right after he got Mimicker on the live server. I'm not 100% sure, though. He said basically that he thought Tier 9 was created so that they could add 40 energy mechs, and that 24 energy would become the new light energy. He said this because he noticed that basically everything new was a 32 energy mech, and this continued with Deathwalker and Outlaw later, after he formed this hypothesis. This is further supported by the fact that the last light mech to be added to the game was back in the Cretaceous era with Tengu, and also one of only 5 light mechs to ever be in the game, Cheetah, was promoted to being a medium mech about a year and a half ago, I believe. So they seem to be just like phasing out light mechs completely. Now this poses an interesting question, if this is true. Will light mechs, 16 energy mechs, be promoted to 24 energy, and will any 24 energy mechs be promoted to 32 energy if the 16 energy mechs are promoted? And if so, which ones? In this situation, I think that almost all of the 24 energy tanks will be promoted to 32 energy. Because before Blockhorn and Deathwalker, tank was the only category where there was no variance in energy capacity. Everything was 24 energy. I don't think that a light energy tank will ever be added or created indirectly by the addition of 40 energy mechs. I think if this happens, then all the tanks will be promoted to 32 energy. For scouts, I think it'll depend on the mech more. I think Killshot, Surge, and Nomad will get promoted, as much as I hate to say it. I've thought for a long time that Surge should have been a light mech. It has the most broken ability of all time. There's no question. Storm Dash is a dash, which is really broken, EMP, which is really broken, and Stealth, which works really well with the dash. It should be a light mech. Like, there's no reason it should have medium energy. And Nomad is just really broken already, and I think this opportunity to soft nerf it should be taken no matter what, but I don't think it will be. And Killshot, I don't really care that Killshot could be 32 energy. Like, honestly, who cares? It's not that good. It's not going to be that bad if you give it if you keep it at 24, and it's not going to be that good if you buff it up to 32. Now, stuff that's based off light mechs, like Lacewing and Eclipse, are almost definitely going to stay at 24 because they're based off light mechs. Now, Slingshot I could see going either way, because the point of its existence is to just be a worse kill shot, so it would make sense for it to be a light mech, but it wasn't originally introduced as a light mech, so I think it could stay as a medium mech and get buffed to 32 energy. Support mechs, I think, will stay where they are for the most part. I don't think Solus is going to get promoted to 40 energy. I think it's very unlikely that any non-attacker ever gets 40 energy capacity. But at the same time, there's Solus and Mimicker and Blockhorn and Deathwalker, which all got 32 energy despite not being attackers. For attackers, I think they're all going to be promoted 1 energy level. I think Stalker is going to go from 24 to 32, Seeker is going to go from 24 to 32, and all the 32 energy attackers are going to go up to 40, if this happens, of course. Now, there is also the possibility that only, like, legendary and maybe some epic mechs actually get promoted in energy, and everything else gets soft nerfed. But I don't think that's going to happen, because most of the difference in firepower comes from the weapons, not in the mechs. And although Plarium generally believes that legendary mechs and weapons should have the best stats and just generally be the best, I think the difference between legendary weapons and common and uncommon weapons is enough to make that true. Now on to the weapons. The first weapon they showed us was the guided weapon, codenamed Rocketeer, which this goes for both of the guided weapons they showed us. I don't really have any faith in them at all, because if you didn't know, Mech Arena only tests their weapons against other weapons of the same category, and right now the guided category is pretty bad, with the only weapon that's really good at all in that category being Helix Racks. And, like, everything looks good when you compare it to Savants and Disc Launchers. So I think both of these guided weapons are going to be pretty bad. Now, for what we know about the weapon, they said that it'll fire more projectiles with the higher energy variants. Now, they didn't specify what the highest energy was, although they did specify that it would fire 15 projectiles with the highest energy variant. The fact that they didn't specify 16 energy is potentially more evidence for there being 20 energy weapons coming to the game soon. So I'm pretty convinced that that's happening. But another significant thing about that is that another weapon that fires more projectiles with higher energy variants is Rocket Mortar. So I think that this weapon is going to be kind of a guided artillery hybrid. My guess is that it'll be kind of like helix racks, and it will like track you down, but instead of hitting you directly, it will land in a spread around you with area of effect damage. So it'll be able to hit you behind cover somewhat, but a lot of the projectiles will hit whatever you're hiding at, and it'll only do partial damage. So it'll have some strengths of guided weapons, some strengths of artillery weapons. My guess is that its minimum range is a little bit further than most guided weapons, but a little bit closer than most artillery weapons, probably 25 to 30 meters. However, they did also say in the devlog that this weapon would be good for mid-range combat, so I don't know if this weapon will have a very long maximum range. It'll probably be similar to Savant's and be something like 80 meters. It'll definitely have a range implant, but I don't know if it'll be like rocket mortars, where it decreases the minimum range, like javelins, where it just increases the maximum range, or like EM rifles, where it decreases the minimum number for the optimal range and also increases the maximum range. I think all three could happen, and they're all somewhat likely to happen. This weapon will probably have a relatively small blast radius, probably 3 meters, the same as all the other guided weapons that actually have blast radii, except for disc launchers, but disc launchers are disc launchers. And it'll probably have a way tighter spread than artillery weapons, if it functions how I think it will. Next up is the unnamed guided weapon. We know only that it's going to be a guided weapon. I don't even know if they confirmed that it's going to be legendary, but, like, it's going to be legendary, let's be real. And we know its visual design. Its visual design has a smaller rocket up top, and then in the actual weapon, there's a larger rocket. I think the smaller rocket could be, like, a warning shot that, like, applies maybe weaken or stasis or, like, a shield pierce effect, like Orion's Mark minus the other effects. This is mostly based off a concept for a barrage weapon that I saw in the comments section of something once. It was a pretty cool concept, and I think it'd be cool if this was actually added as a weapon. But I don't know, I'm going off nothing, like literally nothing, so y'all just take this with a grain of salt. Now, the last weapon they teased in the devlog was the legendary missile weapon codenamed Power Rocket. They said that this would be like RPGs, but way cooler, which doesn't really give us much, but there have been a lot of just upgraded versions of low-rarity weapons and mechs, so we're pretty familiar with this. I think it's going to have a magazine of 6 to 8, have a blast radius of probably 7.5, because they've given, like, every weapon with a blast radius 7.5 meters blast radius, like VRPGs 7.5, Stormracks 7.5. Fuse mortars get close to that. I think they have 6, 7, and 8. So most radius weapons have been floating around that point. I think there's a chance that they go a little bit overboard with the radius implant, but I think it's probably just going to be plus 30%. Still, that'll be like close to 10 meters of radius, which will be kind of bonkers. But disc launchers had 14.1 meters, and we were fine. Also, radius weapons just aren't as good now because of galvanic hull blocking back damage and perimeter mods just not taking it in the first place. For the Gatecrasher Onslaught, I don't really think whatever the unique mechanic really matters. I think it'll be fun, but I don't really care, and I don't really have any predictions for it. The real thing that I care about is what weapons will become available, which I think it'll be some relatively unimportant variant of Particle Beam and some relatively unimportant variant of Viper. Because with the Scorpius Onslaught, we got Ember Gun 12 and Disruptor 10, which were really soon to be released afterwards. But we also got Podgun 10, which still hasn't been released. So it's probably going to be one weapon that's soon to be released, particle beams, and one weapon that's going to take a while to be released after, which will either be Viper or maybe Revoker, but I doubt it because I think Plarium is pretty aware that Revokers are really, really strong right now because I get offers in the shop for Revokers like every 2 minutes. In summary, Angel is going to be the healer that everyone's been asking for like a year plus. Swarm is either going to be generally unimpactful or it's going to soft nerf the entire game. Rocketeer is probably going to be kinda fun but kinda bad, and we know absolutely nothing about the other two weapons. Alright, y'all, that's all from me for now. Bye.